Okay. Okay. And let me go ahead and share the screen. Okay. And John, if you don't mind, I'll make you co-host so you can also keep an eye. Thank you. Let me admit everyone.
Okay. Let me see. You
All right.
made me co-host. Okay.
I will. Yeah. Give me a second. I'm just going to admit everybody. Okay. Oops. You know what? The problem is when I do the slideshow, I cannot see anybody. So let me stop that.
I don't see anybody.
Yeah, I'm just looking for where you admit people. Participants. There we go. Okay.
7, 8, 17. Wow. 25, 27. Jeez. 33, 34, 35.
All right.
Well, attendance.
It's good attendance.
Yeah, we had over 100 people sign up. Welcome, everyone. We're just waiting for people to join the webinar.
Hey, John, how are you?
Okay. All right, everyone, if you could mute yourself. Please mute yourself. Thank you.
Because I was so sure the teacher didn't know.
All right.
You can go ahead and mute everybody.
Sending a message, say Austin drew my attention.
Trying to figure out how to do that.
It's not Bob money prize.
Okay. Okay, if you're just joining.
I had meeting people. Don't worry about and I got access now.
Okay.
So we got 43 participants so far.
Okay. And I just muted everybody. Can you hear me?
No? Okay.
No? Okay.
You want to wait a couple minutes before we start? Or
hold on one second. Shoot. Okay, John, if you can hear me, give me a thumbs up. Okay, great. Okay, welcome everyone. This is our Buying a Home in Gaithersburg webinar, sponsored by the City of Gaithersburg and the Gaithersburg Financial Empowerment Center. We have a great presentation for you this evening, and we're going to give a lot of valuable information about home buying programs that you can benefit from, talk about the real estate market here in Gaithersburg. So why don't we just go ahead and get started? I'm Leslie McDonald, and I'm the Director of Financial Empowerment Programs here in the City of Gaithersburg, and I'm really pleased to welcome our panel, and I'll tell you who they are in just a second. But as far as ground rules are concerned, if everybody could just put themselves on mute, and when you have questions, please put your questions in the chat and we will address them as we go along. So those will be the ground rules for the meeting. Again, thank you so much for joining.
I want to say this in Spanish when you finish.
Oh, wait 1 second. All right. And as you can see, this is, as I said, the City of Gaithersburg is sponsoring this program, and we actually have a few other financial webinars coming up. Credit and debt coming up on April 17th and April 18th in Spanish. Budgeting and saving for your future coming up on May 16th. And John, if you would like to do the welcome in Spanish, that would be great.
Thank you. Gracias a todos por unirse a este seminario sobre compra de vivienda en la ciudad de Gaithersburg. Si bien no vamos a ofrecer a traducción en vivo, los diapositivas estarán en inglés, en español, para que ustedes entiendan. Pondremos enlaces en el chat para que todos los presentadores y los materiales puedan ser, las preguntas que ustedes tengan puedan ser desarrolladas. Los materiales, como les dije, están disponibles en español, lo que van a ver en la pantalla. Asegúrese de permanecer en silencio y si necesita ayuda, envíe un mensaje en español en el chat y le responderemos. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Okay, so again, thank you for joining the webinar, and keep yourself on mute, put questions in the chat, and those are the ground rules. So our presenters for this evening are Jackie Simon with Remax Realty Group. Jackie has been selling homes for close to 50 years here in the Gaithersburg area, and she's going to talk to us about the real estate market in our local area. Following Jackie, we'll have John Sanchez of the Financial Empowerment Center and Housing Initiative Partnership. John will speak to you about what the FEC is and how we can help people be ready to buy a home. Very important step. Following that, Maureen Walker of the City of Gaithersburg Housing Division will talk about the GHELP program, which provides a no-interest loan for people buying in Gaithersburg. After Maureen, we have Francisco Bamande of the Maryland Department of Housing and Community Development, and he's going to fill us in on all the different homebuyer programs that exist within his department, and then we'll give you some links so you can find those different programs for yourself. Also, we'll have Carmen Castro Conroy from Housing Initiative Partnership, and Carmen is going to review the home buying process and talk about how HIP can help local home buyers. So again, thank you all for joining. Again, I'm Leslie McDonald with Community Services here in the City of Gaithersburg. So let's go ahead, and I am going to turn over the presentation over to Jackie Simon. And Jackie, if you could unmute yourself, and Jackie's our local realtor. Okay, Jackie, we're not hearing you.
Good evening and welcome to the housing seminar sponsored by the City of Gaithersburg. There's an awful lot to take in here tonight, and this will go a long way in eliminating your frustrations in dealing with the market, which is a very difficult one at this time for buyers. And maybe you can move this chart over so that it, I guess,
Yeah,
got all the numbers in here.
There we
What
go.
we've got here, oh, thank you. Now, can we take the other off of it?
Now, Jackie, could you speak up a little bit, please?
Sure. Can we take this? Well, I guess I have to take it off. There we go. Forgive me all. What I've tried to put here is a summary of housing in the Gaithersburg market area. And we've included Montgomery Village, which is 20886 here, because affordability in Montgomery Village is similar to parts of the city and are often considered part of the Gaithersburg market. You can see by the numbers of properties sold in zip code 20877. All of last year, there were 186 homes sold. The minimum sale price was $125, but don't be misled. That sale price carries with it a significant condominium fee. So your monthly housing costs may well be as high as if you were looking at a $400,000 property. The maximum sale on that zip code last year was $1,465,000. The average sale price was $476,293, and the median, which is right in the middle of the high and the low, was $485,000. And you can look at each of these 20878. There were 604 homes sold, and the average sale price was $699. In 879, the average price was $425, $387, and in Montgomery Village, there were 487 homes sold with a minimum sale price of $117,500 and an average of $425,400. Now, just today, statistics were released showing that in Montgomery County in its entirety, prices have risen 8% over this time last year across Montgomery County. So what does that tell you? Time increases costs. Can we look at the current picture? Can we move to the next slide? These numbers were the numbers by zip code on the 13th of March. This is a specific day of the number of homes for sale in the county, in the Gaithersburg market area. And they total 69 homes. That's all that's for sale in Gaithersburg and Montgomery Village. You can see the minimum list price was $125. Now it's $170. The average list price was $507,500 in the zip 20877. And now it's $507,500. So we all are in the midst of a huge seller's market. Partially because the number of homes for sale are so low. The sellers are in the driver's seat. And one of the things this is important to know is that you're going to, as first-time buyers, have advice from coworkers, parents, and others telling you we'll negotiate, offer less. We are still getting competitive contracts. And the lower the price range, the greater the competition. We've got 100 plus people registered tonight, and only 69 of you could have bought a home. 69 of the 100 plus could have bought a home last week. So, to turn this into a situation where it is going to be fun and not frustrating, I have some tips for you, and I've been doing this for 46 years. Plan, look forward. Before you start looking at houses, think about your home. What your household is going to look like in the next 5 to 7 years. Are you going to have new children? Are you likely to have an in-law move in with you? Are you going to need to assist them in some way? What is your family structure going to be? And I suggest a 5 to 7 year range simply because it's about that length of time that it's going to take for you to be able to take out enough equity to move up. Your first home will not be your dream home, but it should meet your priority goals, start you on an economic path to generational wealth, not only for you, but for your children. You have to identify just 2, maybe 3 things that will be deal breakers. And ask that you not be shown things that are not on your must-have list. You're not going to be able to go out and look at 8 houses in your price range on a given day, because as you can see, in one zip code, we've only got 4 for sale. In any price under 507,000. Well, actually under 785,000. Get pre-qualified, not get pre-approved with a lender. If you're pre-qualified, it doesn't mean that you've necessarily had all of your financial data examined. So it's important that you hear what the experts that are here tonight have to say and follow it. Find a lender that participates in CDA financing and HOC financing, because those are targeted to first-time buyers. And there are programs that financially benefit you by both the Community Development Administration, and there's a speaker here this evening, and the local HOC programs. HOC administers the county closing costs and assistance programs. So start there. Choose a lender. They're on their lists and on their websites. They'll tell you more about them. But choose lenders that know those programs. If a realtor specializes in $1 million houses, it's not that they can't help you, but they probably are not best equipped to help you. And then you want to find a realtor who also works with that population because they know the neighborhoods that are within the price ranges that you will be focusing on. And it's important when you set your priorities to know that the lender is going to show you what you qualify for. You may have different plans. You may say, we couldn't afford that because I'm going to not work next year. I want to get my master's degree. And I won't have the income to be able for us to have that kind of a payment, even though we qualify for it. Commit yourself to work within your limits once you have set them. Educate yourself and work hard for this. Nothing is more frustrating than finding a house you love and getting beat out because your lender letter is not strong enough to be competitive, or you wanted a night to think it over and have missed the deadline to submit an offer, or any other kinds of things that can go wrong. Having your offer rejected is very disappointing. And if you don't get yourself truly prepared, you are not going to be in a competitive position. On the other hand, don't give up on things that are important to your economic well-being. One of those is a home inspection. And I can't tell you how important that is. And many of the special programs require home inspections. And don't settle for a walk around. A walk around is you just walk around with the builder. They don't take the front off the furnace and check whether it's burning properly. They don't look in the electric panel box to see if there's been moisture come in and that there's rust forming in the box. You want a home inspection. And if you have to walk away because you can't negotiate out, don't give up that right. You set yourself up for liabilities that could cost you that house and a lot more. So I can't urge you enough that home inspections are very, very important.
Great.
And once you have,
Jackie, I'm
yes.
sorry. Jackie, thank you so much for that valuable advice. And we are running up to time. So I'm going to go to the next slide. And if you wouldn't mind just saying a little bit about this next slide. I know we talked about this when we met, and I think it's a valuable topic. So if you could quickly say something about this, that would be wonderful.
Yes. Discrimination in the housing market sadly still exists. And it's discrimination with a smile, and discrimination isn't visible. My son, who was disabled, was a tester for discrimination. And he and a non-disabled person having the same qualifications went and looked at different communities, met with different realtors, and got very different answers. Kirk would be told they don't have any units available. And 15 minutes later, the non-disabled tester would be shown 2 properties that were affordable to Kirk and looked and would have met all his needs. It's discrimination with a smile. You don't even necessarily know what's happening, but you do need to know it is happening in the marketplace. And if you feel that something doesn't feel right, it probably isn't. What you do about it is go to the county's human rights office, or you go to a nonprofit organization like the Equal Rights Center in the district and make a complaint. Or you can go to HUD and make a complaint. But don't stand for it. You need to protect yourself and you need to protect others.
Thank you, Jackie.
And
We really
just one other
appreciate.
thing,
Oh, go ahead. Quick.
If the realtor says, you might not be comfortable in that neighborhood, or you might like this other neighborhood better. Those aren't right. It is not the realtor's role. We will not be paying the mortgage. So our opinions should not matter. What is important to you is what is important in this process. Thank you very much. But
Thank you, Jackie.
you know,
Appreciate all your insight into the real estate market here. Very, very helpful. Thank you.
Yeah.
Next up, we have John Sanchez of the Financial Empowerment Center. John, take it away.
Sure, real quickly. Thank you everyone for joining us today. We have over 50 prospective clients today who join us. Well, the Gaithersburg Financial Empowerment Center offers no-cost professional free 101 financial counseling to help Gaithersburg residents address their financial challenges and plan for a brighter future. We have a couple of expert financial counselors who work with clients to assess their finances and create a customized plan to address issues as credit card debt, high interest car loans, credit score improvement, dispute incorrect credit report items, debt reduction, creating a saving plan, finding safe and affordable banking products. So can you see this in the slide? We are focused obviously in pay down delinquent accounts, close accounts, improving FICO credit scores, and creating the famous budget or spending plan. Next, please. Next slide. Yeah, so how we can help home buyers? Home buyers need a good credit score. Our remarkable team who speak Spanish, English, and French look for your current situation, and through their guidance and through homeworks and activities and through credit reports, they help you to improve your credit score to get a better mortgage rate that is needed. For example, the city of Gaithersburg is a program who requests a credit score of 680 and other programs like that. We also talk about creating a spending plan to save for a down payment or closing costs. This is happening right now with different other programs. Like right now, we're working with the Habitat for Humanity team because that's an affordable housing project when they just request 580 FICO score and 1% closing costs. There are several programs in the market, but you should understand one of the requirements is to get the good credit score and also figure out the spending plan for down payment or for opportunities to for closing costs or avoid the prime mortgage insurance if you can put 20% down. That's our goal. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much, John. And I will tell you that we've had remarkable results at the Financial Empowerment Center. People, increasing credit scores to the point where they can get better rates on every loan that they have. So it's really worthwhile. If you're a Gaithersburg resident, do check out the Financial Empowerment Center. Next up, and I'm trying to ask her to unmute. There we go. Maureen Walker with the Housing Division here in the city of Gaithersburg. Welcome.
Hi, good
Maureen.
evening. Thank you. Thank you, Leslie. Good evening, everybody. As Leslie mentioned, my name is Maureen Walker. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm here with the City of Gaithersburg, the Division of Housing and Community Development. I'm excited to be here tonight to share with you all about the Gaithersburg Homeowner Assistance Loan Program, or also known as GALP. I do want to mention my colleague Brittany Marinello is also on the call and is available to answer questions as needed. So GALP provides closing costs and down payment assistance through 0% deferred loans to eligible first-time home buyers who purchase within the city of Gaithersburg corporate limits. And I'll kind of get into more specifics as we go on. Leslie, next slide, please. Thank you. So eligible applicants are able to receive up to $25,000 in down payment and closing cost assistance. These funds are available in the 0% deferred loan. As the buyer, you would be required to sign a promissory note and a second deed of trust at settlement. And I do want to note, as we have somebody from the county on the call, or the state, but the city funds can be combined with state and county funds. So if it's needed to go into the third position for your lien, the city does have some flexibility there, and we would be able to do that. So the funding maximums are established according to the property location and are updated annually. So as you can see on the map, there's the purple zones, which are our standard zones. So in those areas, you'd be able to get up to $12,000. And then in the green opportunity zones, it's up to $25,000. So these zones are determined based on median sales prices and median household income. And so we're looking at the census and the ACS data on an annual basis to update this. Next slide, please. So eligibility, so a borrower must be a first-time home buyer or have not owned a home within the last 5 years. They need to purchase a home within the corporate limits of the city of Gaithersburg. So this can be confusing at times because there are a lot of addresses with Gaithersburg as the city, and they do not fall within the corporate limits. Unfortunately, folks purchasing in those areas would not qualify for the GALP program. There's a way to check on our website, and you can always email myself and Brittany as well if you're unsure if the property does fall within the corporate city limits. But there's a link on our webpage that you can type it in. If it doesn't pop up, unfortunately, it's not a city address. The borrower would have to have lived or worked in the city of Gaithersburg for 1 year prior to the date of settlement. And priority is given to some populations. So these priority populations include folks who are Montgomery County public and private school employees, City of Gaithersburg full-time or permanent part-time staff, police officers, public safety workers, fire safety employees, and veterans. As John mentioned, for this program, you do need to have a credit score of at least 620. We have seen some folks come to us who are just below that or close to, and oftentimes we will refer them to the FEC as a great free resource for residents in the city. Next slide, please. Thank you. So this is an income eligible program, so not everybody would qualify, but we work with households who earn below 100% of the area median income. And then for those priority populations that I mentioned previously, they can earn up to 120% of the area median income, which is reflected in the table below. Those are updated annually as well. So that would be revised every beginning of fiscal year, which is July 1st of every year. So to verify income, all working adults in the household must submit their last 2 years of W-2s and tax returns, proof of income. Anybody who's a full-time student over the age of 18 does need to provide official school transcripts. You know, there's always situations where somebody maybe didn't file or is self-employed, or there's other things, you know, we want to, there's special conditions for those. And so if that's the case, if you have a borrower who didn't file taxes, that doesn't exclude them from the program. You just have to let us know so we could let you know what the required documentation would be. Next slide, please, Leslie. So this is the application process. So I will say, for the city, we are primarily working with the lenders or with the loan officers. We're not having a lot of contact with home buyers themselves. And so, you know, everybody, of course, is able to contact us and ask us questions. but I will just say the majority of the work that we're doing is really with the loan officers. So kind of the first step for our borrowers is to be entered into a sales contract. Unfortunately, well, not unfortunately, but we really can't administer any funding until there's a sales contract in place. So once you have that sales contract, you could submit your pre-application, and that just allows us to pre-screen eligibility. We could do that before the sales contract, but there's no guarantee that by the time you submit your pre-application and the time you get your sales contract, that funding will be available. So once you have that sales contract, you submit the pre-application. We do the eligibility screen, so make sure that you're a resident or have worked in the city for at least a year, that you're purchasing within the city, and your income and credit meet the eligibility. Another requirement is that we do require a home buyer's counseling class, which must be completed no more than 12 months prior to the date of the pre-application. The course could be any of them, but it must be HUD approved. We're typically referring folks to HIP, which Carmen will talk about in a few minutes. It's local, it's more affordable than a lot of the other programs. And so a lot of times if we will refer folks to HIP to complete that. So once all of that's done, once we have your sales contract, we have the pre-application, you've completed the course, then we're working directly with the lender, loan officer, realtor, who will send the required documentation to us. As Jackie mentioned, this is a program that does require a home inspection. We have seen people who have opted out of it, and unfortunately they wouldn't qualify for the GALP program. So make sure if you are one of those borrowers that you are getting a home inspection. Another thing to note is that the sales price cannot be higher than the appraisal. So if you have the appraisal and you're outbidding it, there's a possibility for a waiver, but typically the sales price cannot be higher than the appraisal. So that's just also something to keep in mind. Next slide, please. So once you are approved, again, we are not really having a lot of direct communication with the homeowners. We are communicating with your loan officers, with your realtors, whoever that point of contact is. So once you're approved, we issue a second or third deed of trust, depending on our position, with the promissory note as well. So you are required to sign both. We do recommend you read it. There's been a lot of cases where folks sign off and unfortunately didn't recognize that this is a loan that does need to be paid back. There are repayment conditions. So if you have questions while you are, when you receive those, of course, you can reach out to the city. We would be happy to sit down with you. The originals will then be sent for the note. It gets sent back to the city for filing. For the deed of trust, that goes to the county land records for filing. So the check for the down payment and closing costs will be provided to the lender directly. We do not give funding to any borrowers directly. So we've had, in the past, lenders have maybe not communicated that the funding was going towards the down payment, and folks will come in and be confused why they now owe $25,000 to the city. So we just want to make sure that we're very clear. This is a loan. You will not see that money. It will go to the loan officer, the lender directly. But it is helping to kind of cover the gap of funding you might need for that down payment. The funds from the city are a loan, as I've said. They do require repayment. They are 0% deferred loans. So if you borrow $25,000 and, oh, sorry, Leslie, would you go back for a minute? If you borrow whatever amount you borrow, that is going to be the amount that you owe, regardless of how long you are in the home. No monthly payments are required. The one requirement is each year we will send out an occupancy letter because it is a condition of the loan that you remain in the property. So that will be something that you will get every year, and you just have to sign and say, yes, I'm still here. Okay, next slide. Thank you. Okay, and just quickly about the repayment conditions. So as I've mentioned, these are interest-free repayable loans. There's no forgiveness period. They must be repaid. The repayment conditions are if you sell or refinance your home, If you secure a one-time home equity line credit over $10,000, or if you fail to occupy the unit without written approval from the city. Again, this can be used in conjunction with other state or local housing programs. And once repaid, the city will submit a certificate of satisfaction to release the lien. But yeah, I mean, this is so, okay. And I'm open for questions, of course. I think we're going to switch over to the MPDUs now.
Yeah, thank you so much, Maureen. And is there another slide? Oh no, we're getting to MPDUs at the end. Thank you so much, Maureen. And people can, I think there's a few questions in the chat. If you want to just take those from there, that would be terrific.
Sure.
And next up, we have Frank Bamonde, and I hope I'm saying your name properly, from the state of Maryland to talk about state programs. And as Maureen mentioned, some of these programs are stackable. Oh, I'm sorry, here's their contact information so that you can get assistance from Gaithersburg as well as, being qualified for other assistance, which really helps, home buyers. So, and Maureen will also put her email in the chat. Okay, there we go. The Maryland Mortgage Program. Welcome, Frank.
Well, hello, everyone. My pleasure to be here representing the state of Maryland Department of Housing and Community Development. We are the housing finance agency for the state. So MMP is part of CDA and is part of the HCD. So just not to confuse anybody, MMP is the moniker / marketing name for CDA. So a lot of people still refer to the department as CDA loans. It's the same thing. It is the Maryland Mortgage Program. We offer basically through the Housing Finance Agency, we offer liquidity for lenders to be able to use in package programs that are either VA, FHA, USDA, government loans in essence, and conventionally insured loans with Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. If you could go to the next slide for me. Our loans are mean to achieve three things: to provide stability for the families that purchase a home using the Maryland Mortgage Program. It's a little bit of a typo there. It says 3 years, supposed to say 30-year fixed rate mortgages. So that's okay. It is a 30-year fixed mortgages. We do not do adjustable rate mortgages. We do not do buy downs, which are typical in the market at the moment. People are trying to get a break on the higher interest rate by going with a buy down, but just be mindful that a buy down could be a problem later. If rates don't drop, you're going to end up with a higher rate later. So our rates are 30-year fixed. So we offer the flexibility by having a network of lenders statewide all over the state. You can go to credit unions, big banks, small banks, community banks. You can get a loan through a participating lender. You actually do not apply directly to us for any funding. The funding is provided to the lenders. They do the down payment and closing cost assistance options for purchase loans by working with the borrower and determining what works best for them and their situation. If you could go to the next slide for me. So we have two sides to the Maryland Mortgage Program. We have a dual track product line, and I'm not going to go into all of that, but basically you don't have to be a first-time home buyer necessarily, but most of the time our programs are targeted to first-time home buyers. So there are 6 eligibility guidelines that a lender looks at when determining whether a borrower can qualify for the Maryland Mortgage Program. So the first thing they want to look at is, does the borrower qualify as a first-time home buyer? And I have to say that our guideline applies to us, and I see that the city of Gaithersburg has a different guideline as far as first-time home buyer. They require 5 years. So if you're going to be using our money in combination with the city of Gaithersburg, you need to follow their more stringent guideline. If you're not buying the home in the city of Gaithersburg, then you can just follow ours. But if you're going to buy it in the city, you have to follow their guideline, which is 5 years. For us, if you never owned a home before, then you're truly a first-time home buyer. B, if you haven't been on a deed in the last 3 years, you can also qualify as a first-time home buyer. C, for MMP, if you're a veteran and you're using your VA entitlement for the first time, you can also qualify as a first-time home buyer. Or D, if you're purchasing in a targeted area. Targeted area is something that a lender does by going into a mapping tool. And probably your housing counselors can also have access to it. And if not, I will provide that information for them to be able to go to the mapper. But if you're purchasing a home within a targeted area, you can qualify as a first-time home buyer as well. So that's the first eligibility guideline that a lender looks at to determine whether you can purchase on the first-time advantage side or on the flex side. So let's go to the next one. The second overlay that we're looking at for the Maryland Mortgage Program are household income limits. And I have my other website up on my other laptop here. And for Montgomery County, the income limit is 210,980 for a household of 3 or 4. For a household of 1 or 2, it's 180,840. So those are our income limits, which may in some cases be higher what the city has. They probably are higher than what the city has. So if you're purchasing a home within the city using their money, you have to follow their income limits. And of course, if you're a first-time buyer for the city, you have to follow their eligibility limits there as well. So I don't want to confuse people. Lenders that use our programs and is tackled with cities and counties will have to fit everybody into everybody's guidelines. So the more stricter guidelines apply, then you need to apply those first. So there's household income limits. We're pretty liberal for the Maryland Mortgage Program. Asset restrictions. So there's an income test that's talking about household income limits, but there's also an asset test that needs to apply for MMP. And basically, a borrower cannot have more than 20% of the sales price in liquid assets. Money in a 401k, retirement funds is excluded, but money in checking, savings, stocks, bonds, CDs, money held in a banking institution and a long-term CD will count towards that. A gift of equity or gift funds count as part of an asset test. Money from the city of Gaithersburg would not count as part of an asset test because that's a loan. So those are the first 3 are pretty standard lender driven. And then we have homebuyer education. All borrowers must complete a homebuyer education certificate and must be valid for at least 1 year. So if you can go to the next slide. And really, if you're working with HIP counseling, housing counseling, that would be probably the best place to go. Because they know the programs that apply to the county. And really, I would just go with them, and they do a great job on the behalf of the borrowers that go through their program. The 5th overlay for the Maryland Mortgage Program is our debt to income ratio. Typically, it is a 45% DTI, debt to income ratio. Some programs do allow you to go up to 50, provided that your credit score is at least 680. So if it's a conventional loan, you can go up to 50% with a credit score of 640. But if you're going government, VA, FHA, or rural housing, then you need to be at least a 680 to go up to 50. If not, you'll be a 45. So between 640 and 679, you would be a 45. And really, you don't have to remember all this. It's just really just giving you some basic information. I would suggest that you contact a housing counseling agency that you trust and work with a realtor that you know, go through a participating lender with the Maryland Mortgage Program so they can get all this stuff ready for you, prepare your file for it to be pre-approved or pre-qualified. The 6th overlay for MMP is our credit score. And our credit score for conventional is 640, and it's also 640 for government. So that's the basic guideline. If you're below it, you're not ready for the Maryland Mortgage Program. So we suggest that you work with a housing counseling agency. I read one of the questions in the chat was, if you're working on some things with your credit, can you still use the programs? I just want to take the liberty for MMP. If you're working on your credit, you cannot use the Maryland Mortgage Program because basically that takes your file from refer eligible in lender speak terms to manual underwriting. And if you're in manual underwriting, then everything changes. So if you're working on your credit to correct errors or get stuff deleted from your credit report, please work on that first before you apply for a mortgage. It will make things easier for you. If you could go to the next slide for me. So down payment assistance with MMP. All of our loans are 0% deferred, so there's no repayment required on a monthly basis. You only have to pay it back when you sell the house refinance, or no longer live in the property. Sometimes we have grants. At the moment, we only have one grant. It's in the city of Greenbelt, and that's a specific program for that city. So we don't have any grants. When interest rates shot up, went up high, our grants went away because just the cost of money would be too high. If we had grants right now based on today's interest rates, it would say we had a 3% or 4% grant, then the interest rate would be like 10, and no one would use that. You know, it's not fitting in this market at this time. Some of our products don't have DPA. Our First Time Advantage Direct and our Flex Direct comes with no MMP DPA, but that's our lowest rate on the rate sheet. Typically, it has a lower rate. And I do want to say MMP DPA, down payment assistance with MMP, you can only get it with an MMP first mortgage. In other words, you cannot go to your preferred lender, get another type of loan, and then come to the state to get the down payment assistance. They're both tied together. So if you can go to the next slide for me. So a brief overview of the programs. The First Time Advantage, the ones that you're looking here are the First Time Advantage Direct loans, and those are for first-time homebuyers. The ones that I talked to you about, where you haven't been on the home, haven't never owned the home, you haven't been on the deed in the last 3 years. If you're a veteran, or if you're purchasing within a targeted area, I'm talking about the First Time Advantage products. And the First Time Advantage Direct comes with no MMP DPA. Is our lowest interest rate on the rate sheet. I believe today it was 6.75. Rates have shot up a little bit, but really that's a very good rate in the market. It really, if you go to shop for a rate right now, that's probably as good a rate as you're going to get with no points and no charges to the borrower, and it's a fixed rate. The First Time Advantage, $6,000 down payment assistance, and with that you could use it with the city. You can get the $25,000 from the city, plus the $6,000 from the First Time Advantage Direct. And if you do that, because there's a partner match, we'll add another $2,500 on top of the $6,000, so it would be up to $8,500 in down payment and closing cost assistance. If you don't need a match, or if 3% of the first mortgage is enough, combine it with the 25,000, you can do that. You can do the 4, you can do the 5. Really, that's not something you want to do by your own. Really, you're gonna need some assistance from your loan officer to walk you through it, because yes, you can get 5% of the first mortgage, but if you don't need 5%, you might get a lower rate with the 3%, and that might work better for you if you're using the 25,000 from the city of Gaithersburg. The Home Start product is a targeted product to borrowers below 50% of AMI, which is area median income. And I believe that limit, I don't have that in front of me at the moment. I believe for the city, for Montgomery County, it's around 72,000 or so. So if you're below 72,000, you can get 6% in down payment assistance from the state, and that will have the same interest rate as our 3% product. So let's go to the next slide. So the Flex Direct, as I said, comes with no MMP DPA. Is our lowest interest rate on the rate sheet. The 6,000 can be a partner match from a city, a county, or an institution, Federal Home Loan Bank of Atlanta in some cases, or other programs. The 3% loan product equals 3% of the first mortgage. Next slide. And partner matches are critical. Really, one of the benefits of getting a partner match is that you get an extra 2,500 added to the 6,000. So sometimes that's a really good option for borrowers. All funds can be combined in one note, so it's not 2 separate notes. And I do want to say, for the city of Gaithersburg, if you're using down payment assistance in combination with the Maryland Mortgage Program, will allow the city, or even this or a county or a city, to move into second place in the lien stacking order. There's actually a form that gets completed within our pre-closing package for the lenders, at least an attachment D, that allows a city or a county to move into second place in the lien stacking order. So suppose that you're getting the money from the city of Gaithersburg and you're getting the 6,000 from us, our 6,000 would move into third place. or our 8,500 move into third place. Partner match can also be an employer, a builder, or a community agency. And we have a list of those within our website as well. And you can go to mmp.maryland.gov to get additional information. And if you put in /ES, you can get it in Spanish as well. Okay. And if you go to the next page for me, the Maryland Smart Buy is the premier program of the Maryland Mortgage Program. Allows first-time buyers with student loan debt to be able to buy a home and pay off student loan debt. It's up to $20,000 in student loan debt that can be paid off at closing. The key is that all student loan debt must be paid off at closing. So if you have $22,000 in student loan debt, you'll have to come up with $2,000 at closing to be at the $20,000. If you owe 30, you need to come up with 10,000. Hopefully, come July 1st, we'll increase that amount up to 30. It's been up to 50 at times. Right now, it's up down to 20. But July 1st, the new fiscal year, we're hoping that they'll increase that amount to hopefully 30, maybe even higher. It's just going to depend on many things. I do want to say for the Maryland Smart Buy, the minimum credit score is actually 720. It's not 640. All of our programs are at 640, but the minimum credit score for the Maryland Smart Buy is at 720. So if you purchase, imagine that you qualify income-wise for the city program and you get 25,000, up to 25,000, and you have student loan debt and it's under 20,000, you can pay that off so you can get their money for down payment and closing cost assistance. You can get our money to pay off your student loan debt. That would be like the dream scenario for anybody. If you fit the boxes, then you can get the money. That's basically how it works. I do want to say all of our money, you don't have to apply directly to us. The lender will fund all the products through closing. So I know with the city, they'll have to cut a check to closing, but with MMP, the lender will fund the loan through closing, the MMP portion of it, the first mortgage and any DPA through closing, and then we'll refund them after closing in something that's called the post-closing process. But that's something unique to the Maryland Mortgage Program. That's not necessarily what's going to happen with the city. With the city, you will have to get their check to go to closing, I'm assuming. I do want to say we recommend a home inspection. As always, MMP does not require a home inspection. We do recommend it. But if the city has an overlays, so you will, that they require a home inspection and you're getting our money, then you need to follow their guidelines on top of ours, okay? And basically that's that. Is there anything else after that?
Well, thank you so much, Frank. And I have to say that's a lot.
It is a lot. Typically,
Yeah,
when I do a training session, it's about an hour, and I train housing counselors as well. My job is typically to train lenders. I used to work for community engagement, which was the division that goes and talks about our different programs. So I don't want to get too technical. I don't want to lose anybody in the weeds, but really, I recommend that our attendees today do the next step. Consider this your first step. It's just getting some basic information. Follow up with a housing counselor, housing counseling agency. They'll know the programs locally, what works, what doesn't. While we don't have a list in there, I do want to say the Montgomery County Homeownership Program is a product that we have as well. We actually have two. One is called MedPal, which is for Montgomery County employees. They get up to $25,000 in down payment and closing cost assistance from the county, which we handle for them. And then there's a the Montgomery County Homeownership Program as well. So conceivably, somebody who's purchasing in Montgomery County and within the city of Gaithersburg, they could get up to $50,000 in down payment and closing cost assistance. Now, you're not going to use all that money for closing cost assistance, but you can pay down your first mortgage by quite a lot at closing. So there's really lots of options out there. So I'm just going to be quiet now and let you do your thing.
Well, thank you so much. And the good news is there's a lot available, and then there's people to help you navigate. And so we've given you some websites. We'll put some websites in the chat. And next up, and this is the reason why we're asking Carmen to go last. Carmen Castro-Conroy with Housing Initiative Partnership. She's the housing counselor, her organization that we've been talking about. And so, Carmen, if you could walk us through what HIP does for home buyers, and then we'll talk about the home buying process. Thanks again, Frank.
Thank you, Leslie, and thank you all for attending this webinar. So much information. This is very good news because there is assistance for first-time home buyers. So that's a great message to take from today's presenters. And thanks, Frank, for all this great information about the programs from the state, the county programs, to the city for all the down payment closing cost assistance program for home buyers. So this is just wonderful news for us to work with, because that's what we do. So Housing Initiative Partnership, it's an independent nonprofit housing developer and housing counseling agency. We have more than 30 years serving both Montgomery County and Prince George County. We have 3 offices. We have an office in Gaithersburg, Germantown, and Hyattsville. So our comprehensive housing counseling services is open to all, regardless of income or any other criteria. And all our counseling services are free of charge. And right now, we have bilingual counselors who can meet with you in person, by phone, or virtually. So it's a great free service to take advantage of that can really help you prepare for the home buying process, because as you heard from our speakers, sometimes it can be a little overwhelming with all the terminology that some of us may be unfamiliar with. So we want to make sure that you understand what you're getting into, because you're making big decisions and you need to be prepared. So what we do in the area of home buying is that we offer the home buyer class once a month. We're doing this virtually. And you do have to register, and we do have a class coming up this Saturday. If you're interested, just go on our website and find out how to sign up for the class. The class is we usually hold the class on Saturdays from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. You are always welcome to meet with a housing counselor afterwards. That's why we're now down to like 6 hours, but with a 2-hour meeting with a housing counselor, it can be an 8-hour. So it gives you the 8-hour certificate that most down payment closing cost assistance programs will require, and it's good for 1 year. So if you're interested in the MPDU program with the city or Montgomery County or any other municipality, any down payment closing cost assistance programs that require a certificate from a HUD-approved housing counseling agency, HIP is providing this service, and is the home buyer workshop that we offer. Like again, I said, it's virtual and it's Saturday. And what's beautiful about the class is that we're going to have experts come in and present. We usually have someone from our team, a housing counselor, but we also have a lender, a realtor, a home inspector, an insurance agent, and a settlement attorney. So you're going to have a chance to ask questions, speak with them directly, and follow up and meet with a housing counselor. I see the slide is in Spanish, so I'm going to provide a brief description of what to expect during a pre-purchase housing counseling session. If you are interested in schedule a session with a counselor from one of our offices, the counselor is going to review all your finances, from income to expenses to savings. We're going to look into any type of debt that you may be dealing with, like car payments, student loans, credit cards. We're going to pull your credit report. It's not going to affect your score. And we're going to review not just your score, but the content of your report, because it's very important to know what you can afford in regards to a mortgage loan, but also what you can afford in regards to a mortgage payment. So that's one of the things that we're going to do with clients that meet with counselors in our office, determine what's the kind of mortgage that you can afford, and walk you through the process. So it's not just one session. It can be a number of sessions. until you are ready to either start the process. And once you start the process, we're going to walk you through and make sure that you understand every step of the process until the end. And even after you become a homeowner, you can always come and meet with a housing counselor, because that's why we have post-purchase counseling. So it's for everyone, regardless of where you are in the process. If you're just thinking about it, maybe down the road, maybe a few years, you just want to know what you need to do in preparation for, go ahead and contact us, and we can provide that service. Now, if you live in the city of Gaithersburg at the moment, please contact the Financial Empowerment Center and request to speak with one of their financial counselors. They can really help you work on your credit, your personal savings plan, and spending plan, and make sure that your finances are in order and that you are also ready to get started. So you have plenty of services to go to. HIP through its pre-purchase counseling program. If you are outside the city, anywhere in Montgomery County, you can access our services. If you currently reside in the city, please work with the FEC team. They're wonderful, and they can also help you like improve your credit score, look at your credit report, and review all your finances. So this is a great service. It's free of charge. It's open to all, regardless of income. Any step of the process, we can provide some guidance, information, and connect you with resources. Next slide. So this was a lot of information to absorb from all the speakers. They all share very valuable information, and I'm sure you're gonna want to take the next step. So we thought this may be helpful to you if you haven't started the process and not sure where to start. Taking all the information, absorbing, reading, going on websites that are helpful to consumers is always helpful. So for us, step one is getting all this information, right? This is a webinar for first-time home buyers, specific about down payment closing cost assistance programs for city residents or those who are interested in purchasing in the city. We offer orientations once a month for first-time home buyers. So you can all go to our website if you want to tell friends about it or want to like listen to this again. It's a little different approach because during our orientation, we focus on the steps in the home buying process. But the best way to start is by educating yourself, getting all this information. If you're ready, if you feel that your finances are in order, that you can get started, sure, you can attend a home buyer class with any of the HUD-approved housing counseling agencies. We offer the class that can be the certificate that can be used for down payment or MPDU. But we also want to encourage you to meet with a housing counselor one-on-one, just to look at your specifics and see how you're doing in general. So step two, determine what you can afford. That's something that you can work yourself if you have all the information you need. But that's usually something that is included during the first session with a housing counselor. We want to make sure that when you meet with a lender, that you're not just going to go by what's the maximum amount of the loan that you can be approved for, but understand what you can afford in regards to a mortgage payment, right? So that's important. Some steps in this home buying process, you're going to be working with a professional. So in regards to getting a loan pre-approved, deciding what kind of house you want, like that's something you can work with a realtor. The pre-approval, you definitely work with a loan officer. Shopping for a home, again, the realtor is involved in providing the guidance and assistance, and including making an offer. Then you're going to work with a home inspector. We encourage everyone to be present during the inspection, right? And you're gonna work with a professional inspector. Again, applying for a mortgage loan, you're gonna work with the lender. We encourage you to review estimates, right? And compare and see what's best and that you understand all the terms and understand what's in that estimate. You're also gonna work with an insurance agent because that home that you're gonna buy is gonna have insurance. And you're gonna be responsible for making that payment through your mortgage, most likely. There's something called PITI. I know we threw a lot of terms to you this evening, but PITI is the principal, interest, taxes, and insurance, right? So the mortgage payment includes escrows through property taxes and insurance for the house. And finally, we love it when our clients call and say, I have a date and I'm gonna close and I'm gonna go to settlement and I'm gonna become a homeowner. So that's very encouraging because we know that we met them when they were still thinking about when to get started and doing the right thing, saving money, making sure that their credit score was good. And then when we see that our clients go to closing, it's just, we are as happy as they are. So it's exciting. It's happy news for us. So we want to see everyone go through this process smoothly and that this is something good for their families, for your future, and that you're not going to get discouraged regardless of market conditions or anything else. So this is the steps in the home buying process. And I hope this information that we stay in touch and you contact us and all the providers from this webinar that had such great information to share. Thank you, Leslie.
Great. Thank you so much, Carmen. And thank you all for joining today. I'm going to stop the share and I'm going to stop the record. And we have about 6 minutes for questions. If people want to put them in the chat or unmute themselves, we can take a couple of questions. And you can also try raising your hand and we'll see what works. Okay. Any